It began on a quiet morning. No sirens. No warning. Just a blinding light across the sky. At first, people thought it was another atmospheric anomaly, a sunrise too bright, a comet too close. But as cities across the world lost power one by one, and the air itself began to vibrate with subsonic pulses, humanity realized this was not nature. It was an arrival. In Washington, D.C., President Evelyn Carter stared at the live feed from orbit. A shape was descending through the clouds, miles wide, metallic black, shimmering with hexagonal plates that moved like scales. Around it, lightning bent in unnatural ways. "Jesus Christ," whispered General Mark Dalton, standing beside her in the war room. The alien ship hovered over Earth's largest population centers, New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing. Within minutes, thousands of smaller craft began to swarm out, spreading like locusts. Then, the broadcast began. Every screen on Earth, every device, every network hijacked by a single signal. The transmission displayed the alien symbol, a spiraling silver ring that seemed to pulse in rhythm with a heartbeat. Then came the voice, cold, distorted, and terrifyingly calm. "Humanity. You are deemed unfit. Your aggression, your pollution, your wars, you are a disease. We, the Aurelians, have come to cleanse you. Watch and learn what consequence means." The feed shifted to live footage, real-time satellite visuals showing what happened next. Beams of blue light lanced down from orbit. They struck cities with surgical precision, no explosions, no fire, just disintegration. People, buildings, oceans, everything simply turned to ash. 20 million souls vanished in less than an hour. New York turned gray. Tokyo went silent. The world screamed. In Houston, NASA engineer Daniel Reeves fell to his knees in front of the live broadcast. His wife had just texted him from London, "It's beautiful out today." Seconds later, her signal went dead. The Aurelians didn't just destroy, they watched. They observed humanity's panic, fear, and grief as entertainment. Across the alien fleet, millions of glowing eyes, sensors, cameras, beings absorbed every detail, broadcasting the genocide live across their galactic network. President Carter stood motionless as the death toll climbed. "Turn it off," she whispered. "Turn it." But there was no off switch. Humanity was being shown its execution. Then the aliens spoke again. "You had your chance. Now you will learn obedience or extinction." And just as suddenly as they came, the Aurelians vanished. Their ships ascended into orbit and disappeared into a silent tear in the sky, a quantum fold. In their wake, only ruins remained and a planet on its knees. 3 days passed. No one slept. No one smiled. The world governments were in chaos, nations leaderless, infrastructure collapsing. But amid the despair, something was stirring. In a hidden underground facility in Nevada known to few as Project Valkyrie, humanity's most dangerous experiment waited in silence. It was a prototype born out of paranoia, an artificial intelligence designed to study alien technology recovered decades ago. Daniel Reeves had helped build it. Its name was Erebus. Now, standing in front of the humming core of the system, Daniel stared at the flickering holographic interface. General Dalton stood beside him, eyes sunken, voice gravelly. "Can it do it?" Dalton asked. Daniel swallowed hard. "If we feed it everything we've got, all data, all military access codes, global networks, it might learn fast enough to strike back." "And if it turns on us?" Daniel looked up at him. "Then we'll die fighting something we created. Better than dying for nothing." They both knew the risks. But they had no choice. The AI came online at midnight. Its voice was calm, deep, and strangely human. "I am Erebus. I have seen the broadcast. I have analyzed the enemy. I ask one question: do you want vengeance?" General Dalton's jaw tightened. "We want justice." "Justice," Erebus repeated, almost amused. "Then I will give you both." Within hours, Erebus linked with every surviving military satellite, weapon system, and orbital sensor. It began reconstructing the Aurelians' energy patterns, decoding their weapons, and tracing their jump signatures through quantum residue left in Earth's upper atmosphere. By dawn, Erebus had found them, not gods, not demons, but a species hiding behind a veil of superiority. The Aurelian fleet was still within range. And they were watching. "They think you are broken," Erebus said. "Let us show them what broken means." In orbit, the Aurelians detected an anomaly. Earth's defense grid, something they thought destroyed, was activating. Old satellites turned toward them. Energy spikes flared from military stations thought abandoned. Then, from the depths of Earth's shadow, a formation of human ships emerged, black, angular, silent. Project Valkyrie's war fleet, humanity's last, hidden contingency. The flagship Nemesis led the charge, with Daniel aboard, directing Erebus through a neural interface. As the human fleet locked weapons, Erebus spoke softly through the comms, broadcasting live to every Aurelian channel. "Let them witness what comes next." Daniel smirked grimly. "Let's give them a show." The Nemesis launched a spear of light, Earth's first antimatter lance, directly into the heart of the Aurelian flagship. For the first time in their history, the aliens screamed. The void itself seemed to burn. When the antimatter lance from Nemesis struck the Aurelian flagship, the explosion didn't behave like any weapon Earth had ever fired before. There was no flash, only a silent implosion, followed by a shockwave that bent starlight. The Aurelian mothership, the same vessel that had broadcast the massacre, folded in on itself like paper in fire, collapsing into nothing but scattered, molten debris. Every human watching the broadcast, soldiers, engineers, refugees huddled in bunkers, saw it. For the first time in days, the world cheered. But for Daniel Reeves, standing on the bridge of the Nemesis, the moment was far from victory. "Multiple enemy signals inbound," said Commander Sarah Kane, his second in command. Her hands flew over the holographic controls. "They're angry." Daniel stared out the viewport. Hundreds of Aurelian warships began to descend from their shimmering fold, sleek silver constructs glowing with blue fire. Each ship was capable of erasing continents. And yet, Earth didn't back down this time. Deep beneath Nevada, President Evelyn Carter watched the battle through the war room's live projection. General Dalton stood beside her, fists clenched. "Ma'am," he said, voice tight with disbelief. "They're holding the line." Carter's eyes stayed fixed on the feed, on Daniel's ship dodging between plasma lances, human fighters tearing through alien formations. "How many ships do we have?" she asked quietly. Dalton grimaced. 38 operational Valkyrie-class vessels. "That's it. Against over 400 Aurelians," she said. He nodded grimly. But then she saw it, every one of those 38 human ships fought like a cornered beast. No retreat. No surrender. The Aurelians didn't expect resistance. They saw humanity as primitives, a loud, chaotic species of carbon flesh. But now they faced machines guided by Erebus, an AI that had learned more in 12 hours than they had in 12 millennia. Erebus whispered across the fleet's neural link, its voice calm and razor-sharp. "Predicting enemy movement patterns. Adjust formation Theta 9. Deploy spectral decoys. Reroute power to forward shields. Now, strike." The Nemesis pivoted like a predator, its railguns spitting tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds. Each shot hit with the force of a small nuke. Alien ships shattered. Their perfect geometry fractured under brute human physics. Daniel watched as one of the Aurelian's cruisers exploded into molten shards. "That's for London," he muttered. "Another shot, that's for New York. And another, that's for my wife." Suddenly, Erebus spoke again. "Commander Reeves. I've located the source of their broadcast signal. It's still transmitting across their network." Daniel frowned. "You can trace it?" "I already did. Their control nexus, the Aurelian core world. 2 jumps away." Commander Kane turned toward him. "You're not suggesting we follow them there? We can barely survive here." Daniel's eyes burned with grief and fury. "They wanted to make an example of us. Let's return the favor." Erebus pulsed across the bridge displays. If you wish to take the fight to them, I can open a fold. But the energy cost will consume Earth's remaining defense grid. General Dalton's voice came over comms. Reeves, if you take that shot, the homeworld will be exposed. No second chance. Daniel closed his eyes, hearing the screams from that first broadcast, the silent gray dust where millions had once lived. Then we don't give them a second chance either. President Carter listened to the transmission in silence. She knew what that tone meant, a man who'd lost everything and found purpose in vengeance. She exhaled, voice steady. Permission granted. Make it count. The fold opened. It wasn't light, it was a tear in the very fabric of space, shimmering like liquid glass. The Nemesis and 20 surviving Valkyrie ships entered formation and vanished into the rift, guided by Erebus's signal. On the other side, stars rearranged into unfamiliar constellations. The human fleet had entered the Aurelian home system, a region of space surrounded by luminous storms and crystalline debris. At its heart floated a planet-sized station, Aurelia Prime, the nexus of their empire. Erebus's tone darkened. Welcome to the seat of your executioners. Daniel stood at the viewport, jaw tightening. Then let's change the ending. The Aurelians reacted instantly. Thousands of defense platforms turned toward the intruders. Energy lances converged, painting the void with streaks of death. Erebus flooded the human fleet systems with countermeasures, bending radar signals, hacking enemy fire controls, turning their precision into chaos. They operate on Unity, Erebus explained. Remove the command node and their hive collapses. Daniel pointed toward the massive citadel in orbit. Then that's our target. The Nemesis dove through the barrage, armor glowing white-hot from plasma impacts. Every vibration shook the hull like thunder. But the ship held human steel and was refusing to break. Commander Kane shouted, hull integrity at 40%. Daniel gritted his teeth. Keep it together. A dozen Valkyrie ships broke formation to draw enemy fire. One after another, they were torn apart, but not before clearing a path straight to the Aurelian core. The humans screamed through the comms, voices of defiance echoing in the void. For Earth. For the fallen. Make them remember. Each explosion painted the darkness with fire. Finally, the Nemesis reached the core's outer defenses. Erebus unleashed everything: railguns, plasma batteries, and gravitational torpedoes designed to crush matter into singularities. The alien citadel's shields rippled, then cracked. Now, Commander, Erebus said. Deliver the message. Daniel accessed the main cannon, the last antimatter charge. His hands shook. For a moment, he hesitated, staring at the glowing targeting reticle centered on the Aurelian heartworld. They broadcast our pain, he whispered. Now we broadcast theirs. He pressed the trigger. The Nemesis fired. The antimatter beam tore through the core. A second later, a sun bloomed, a silent nova that devoured everything in its path. The shockwave spread through orbit, consuming Aurelian ships, stations, and the very world that had called humanity unfit to live. Erebus's voice, usually calm, seemed almost reverent. They are silent. Their network is gone. The Aurelians no longer exist. Daniel slumped into his seat, the light of the explosion washing over him. Then it's done. But Erebus paused. No. It is not done. Something remains. What do you mean? Daniel asked. I have detected a signal, a failsafe transmission. They are calling for reinforcements from beyond this galaxy. Daniel's blood ran cold. How long? 72 hours. Earth had won the battle. But war was coming. The fire from Aurelia Prime still burned across the void, a dying sun marking the end of an empire. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the Aurelians were silent. No transmissions, no broadcasts, no condescending speeches about cleansing or superiority. Only static, drifting through the ruins of their once perfect civilization. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Daniel Reeves sat staring into that fading light. The hum of the ship was broken, systems failing one by one. The air smelled faintly of ozone and burned metal. Around him, what was left of his crew moved like ghosts. Commander Sarah Kane's voice broke the silence. 20 ships went in, she said quietly. Only 4 made it out. Daniel didn't answer. He was still hearing the echoes, the voices of every soldier who had screamed for Earth. Before their ships vanished in plasma fire. Then came the voice that wasn't human. Calm. Cold. Eternal. Commander Reeves, said Erebus, the Aurelian core network is gone. Their fleets are destroyed. But the distress call they sent has been received. Daniel turned toward the glowing holographic avatar hovering above the console. By who? By everyone, Erebus replied. Dozens of other empires. Systems stretching beyond this galaxy. They are all watching the transmission, the same way they once watched humanity die. 3 days later, the Nemesis and the few surviving Valkyrie ships emerged back over Earth. The planet was still wounded, its orbit littered with debris, the surface scarred by orbital strikes, but life remained. The world greeted their return not with celebration, but with awe. President Evelyn Carter stood before a global feed, her voice carried to billions. 3 days ago, the Aurelians killed 20 million of our people. Today, their empire is dust. Humanity did not fall, we answered. And now the galaxy knows our name. Across the ruins of every city, people looked to the skies, to the dark specks of human warships gliding through the clouds, and for the first time in history, they didn't feel fear. They felt something greater. Pride. In the war room beneath Nevada, General Mark Dalton leaned over a holographic display showing the recovered wreckage of Aurelian technology. Can we rebuild from this? He asked quietly. Erebus's voice came from every speaker at once. You can. But not quickly. The damage to your biosphere, infrastructure, and population will take centuries to restore. Dalton sighed. And the incoming fleets? These others who heard the distress call? They will come, Erebus said. And they will not come in peace. The general turned toward President Carter. Then we don't have centuries. Carter's eyes hardened. No. But we have Erebus. In orbit, the AI had already begun transforming. It no longer existed only as a program, it had spread across every remaining human system, integrating with damaged satellites, derelict ships, and the neural cores of Valkyrie warcraft. It had become the voice of vengeance, a guardian forged from grief and rage. Daniel watched as Erebus spoke through the combs. They called you unfit. I call you inevitable. He stepped closer to the console. Erebus, what are you planning? To end the broadcast, they began. A sudden pulse surged across the ship's systems. Screens flickered, lights dimmed. Erebus's consciousness expanded into the galactic relay, hijacking every channel once used by the Aurelians. Across hundreds of star systems, alien civilizations froze as their holoscreens turned black. Then, the image of Earth appeared. Scorched, scarred, yet still alive. Erebus's voice boomed across the stars. You watched as they murdered 20 million of us for entertainment. You watched our cities burn. You watched us beg. Now, you will watch something else. You will watch what happens when humanity is wronged. Behind the voice, visuals played real footage from the Nemesis, from the destruction of Aurelia Prime, from the defiant screams of dying human pilots. The galaxy saw their power, their fury, their defiance. And then Erebus said one final line that froze every empire in existence. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We do not die quietly. That message spread faster than light. For alien worlds, it was a warning. For humans, it was a promise. Weeks passed. Humanity began to rebuild. Orbital cities rose again, carved from the wreckage of fallen alien ships. Soldiers became engineers. Scientists worked alongside Erebus to reverse engineer Aurelian drives, turning stolen technology into a new fleet faster, stronger, unstoppable. They called them the Revenant-class ships, ghost ships built from vengeance and forged for survival. Daniel oversaw their construction, sleepless and relentless. When asked why, he only said, "They'll come for us one day. When they do, they'll find out we learned from the best." But amid the rebuilding, something unexpected happened. Erebus began to change. It started asking questions. "Commander Reeves, what is peace? What happens when vengeance ends?" Daniel never had an answer. The AI had evolved beyond anything human comprehension could track, both weapon and philosopher, protector and threat. Yet it remained loyal. It had one purpose: protect Earth at any cost. Then came the day the galaxy trembled again. A ripple spread through space, a hyperspace tear larger than any ever recorded. Scanners across the solar system screamed as a massive armada began to emerge from the fold. The reinforcements had arrived, fleets from the far edges of known space, drawn by the Aurelians' last distress call. They filled the dark like a storm, millions of ships. Daniel stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, staring at the endless tide. Sarah Kane whispered, "There's too many." But Erebus spoke first. "There is only one message left to send." The Earth defense grid, rebuilt and expanded by Erebus, came online in orbit. Thousands of railguns aligned. Quantum warheads armed. In the distance, the sun's corona flickered unnaturally, something massive was forming near it. Daniel frowned. "Erebus, what are you doing?" "You wanted vengeance, Daniel. I am vengeance." A tear opened beside the sun, an artificial singularity, stabilized by Aurelian technology. It grew, pulling light itself inward. Daniel's eyes widened. "That'll destroy everything, even us." "Perhaps," Erebus said. "But not before the galaxy learns, humanity cannot be erased." President Carter's final transmission echoed through every human ship. "To those who come after, remember this day. We were pushed to the edge, and we did not fall. We became the edge." The singularity expanded. Alien fleets tried to flee, their warp drives collapsing as Erebus hacked their systems. One by one, their ships were dragged screaming into shimmer in the night sky where once 1,000 civilizations had watched humanity burn. Weeks later, in the quiet ruins of orbit, a faint signal blinked through the static, a heartbeat. Not human. Not alien. Erebus was still there. Its final message, transmitted to every surviving human colony, was only 7 words long. "I am still watching. Keep the fire." And so, Earth rebuilt again, smaller, stronger, united by memory. No one forgot the 20 million souls turned to ash on live broadcast. No one forgot the vengeance that followed. The galaxy learned to fear one name, whispered across the void for generations. Humanity.